After years of suffering, Sophia secretly bought her dream house with her own savings. Not even her husband Daniel knew. But when she shared the exciting news, something horrifying happened. Daniel never asked her opinion and decided to move his mother, Victoria Hale, and his sister with her child into their home. However, when the entire family arrived with their packed luggage, they were stunned by the sign reading "Private property, no trespassing, and a door locked tight." Sophia had vanished, leaving behind only a cold, brutal message. Can this marriage even be saved? What could have turned this gentle wife into someone so ruthless? And before we continue, write in the comments from which country you're watching the video, and also check if you're subscribed to the channel, as I share interesting life stories with you every day. Okay, let's enjoy the story. Sophia felt a slight dizziness, but not from weakness, from sheer exhilaration. The keys cooled her palm pleasantly. She gripped them tightly, as if fearing the vision might vanish. The house was hers, solely hers. After so many years in that cramped apartment, where every breath, every move was under the domineering eye of Victoria Hale, she had finally claimed her freedom. The house stood on the edge of a small town, surrounded by old apple trees that had seen better days. It was modest, in need of repairs, but so welcoming. Sophia had poured all her savings into it, accumulated over years of denying herself everything. No one knew about her secret dream. No one suspected this sanctuary existed, not even Daniel. She had bought it in secret, registering all the documents in her name alone. This was her hidden refuge, her personal space, her chance to start a new life. She had long chosen floral wallpaper, imagined placing the old sofa inherited from her grandmother, hanging curtains sewn by her own hands. She dreamed of quiet evenings with a book and a cup of tea, of the simple ability to sit in silence without justifying herself to anyone. When she shared the news with Daniel, he seemed thrilled at first. His face broke into a wide grin. "That's great. Finally, we'll have more space we can barely turn around in this cage." Sophia smiled back, but anxiety stirred in her soul. She had expected something different. She wanted to share the joy of gaining her own corner, to hear words of support and understanding for her pursuit of independence. But Daniel seemed to see it only as a chance to expand their living area. In the following days, Daniel grew gloomier, avoiding talks about the house. He came home from work, silent, ate alone while glued to his phone, and went to bed early. Sophia sensed the tension building between them, but she feared speaking first. She dreaded shattering the fragile peace she had worked so hard to maintain. One evening, as Sophia was about to go to bed, Daniel sat on the edge of the mattress and, avoiding her gaze, said, "Soph, there's something. Mom and Becky, they're cramped." Sophia felt everything inside her turn cold. She had anticipated this, sensed the storm approaching. "Cramped?" she echoed quietly, trying to stay calm. "Yeah, you know how her apartment is. But here, there's room for everyone, and the kids can run around." Sophia stared at him, unbelieving. He spoke as if it were obvious, as if her opinion meant nothing, as if the house bought with her money belonged not to her, but to his entire family. "Daniel, are you serious right now?" she asked, struggling to contain her anger. "You're saying your mom and sister with her child will live with us in my house?" "Well, what's the big deal? We're family," Daniel exclaimed, finally meeting her eyes. Genuine confusion shone in his gaze. He truly didn't see the problem. "Family," Sophia repeated, feeling a lump rise in her throat. "But this is my house, Daniel, mine. I've dreamed of this my whole life. I wanted." She trailed off. Words stuck in her throat. What did she want? Silence, peace, freedom, everything she'd never had in her marriage to Daniel. "What did you want?" Daniel asked impatiently. "What did you want, Soph?" Sophia stayed silent. She didn't know how to explain what she felt, how to convey that this house wasn't just square footage, but a symbol of her hope for a better life, a symbol of her independence. "I'll think about it," she finally said, keeping her voice steady. Daniel sighed in relief. "Good. Think it over. I'm sure you'll make the right choice. We're family. We have to help each other." He pecked her on the cheek and left the room, confident in his victory. He knew Sophia always gave in. He knew she would never dare go against his family's will. Sophia was left alone. She sat on the bed, motionless, staring into the darkness. A storm raged inside her, anger, resentment, disappointment, all tangled into one knot. She felt betrayed, deceived, used. She closed her eyes and tried to calm down. She recalled the scent of apples in the garden, the gentle rustle of leaves, sunlight filtering through old windows, the sense of freedom and peace she felt when first entering that house. She wouldn't let them take it from her, wouldn't let them turn her dream into a nightmare. The next morning, Daniel left. He was going to help Victoria, Hale, and Becky with the move. As he drove off, he was certain Sophia would welcome them with open arms. He didn't even doubt it. Sophia watched silently as he got into the car and disappeared. She said nothing, made no attempt to stop him. When the car vanished from sight, she turned and entered the house. She knew what she had to do. She pulled an old brush and a can of paint from the closet, went out to the yard, and got to work. Her movements were swift and sure. She knew exactly what she was doing. By evening, a bright sign adorned the gate. Private property, no trespassing. Sophia stood before the house, admiring her handiwork. She felt strong and confident. For the first time in years, she felt in control of her life. She knew a tough conversation with Daniel awaited her. She knew Victoria, Hale, and Becky wouldn't let it go easily. But she was ready. She was no longer afraid. She had made her decision, and she wasn't backing down. This house was hers, and she wouldn't let anyone take it away. She entered the house, locked the door, and drew the curtains. For the first time in years, she felt safe. She was alone, but she was free. She sat in the old rocking chair from her grandmother and closed her eyes. She listened to the silence she had waited for so long, the silence where she could hear herself. For the first time in years, she felt she could breathe deeply, that she could be herself. She smiled. A new life lay ahead, and she was ready for it. Mother-in-law Victoria Hale fluttered out of the old sedan like a bird escaping a cage. Becky, Daniel's sister, dragged a massive checkered bag while trying to hold her restless daughter Lily by the hand. Lily, like all kids, instantly forgot her road fatigue, her eyes sparkling with curiosity at the new place. Daniel, bringing up the rear, lugged an unwieldy suitcase, apparently packed with everything needed for immediate and comfortable settling in. They approached the house, radiating anticipation and certainty of a warm welcome. Victoria Hale, not waiting for Daniel to open the gate, swung it wide herself. She had always been full of boundless energy and the habit of taking charge, especially when it concerned her family's interests. Becky, breathing heavily, grumbled as she scanned the surroundings, assessing the new home's scale. Lily, breaking free from her mother's grip, ran ahead, examining the flowers in the front yard. Silence greeted them, a silence that struck Victoria Hale as suspicious. She expected to see Sophia welcoming them with bread and salt, or at least a smile. But the porch was empty. Where's Soph? Victoria Hale demanded irritably, turning to Daniel. Daniel shrugged, pulling keys from his pocket. "We'll find out," he muttered, approaching the door. He inserted the key, turned it, and the door wouldn't budge. Locked. "Strange," Daniel said, frowning. "She must have gone out somewhere." He rang the bell. A long, insistent trill shattered the quiet, but no response came. Victoria Hale began losing patience. Becky, tired and annoyed, sat on the flower bed's edge, dropping her bag to the ground. Lily kept running around, oblivious to the mounting tension. Daniel rang again, more insistently. Then he started knocking first, softly, then louder and louder. "Soph, open up. It's us." But the door stayed shut. Suddenly, Becky spotted something attached to the door, a small handwritten sign. She peered closer and read, "Property of Sophia. No entry for outsiders." Becky gasped. She couldn't believe her eyes. "Mom, look!" she exclaimed, pointing at the sign. Victoria Hale buzzed to the door like an enraged wasp. She fixed her glare on the sign. Her face flushed crimson with fury. "What kind of stunt is this?" she hissed at Daniel. "What does she think she's doing?" Daniel stood stunned, silent. He didn't understand what was happening either. At that moment, the door creaked open slightly. Sophia stood on the threshold. She looked calm and composed, but a determined fire burned in her eyes. "Soph," Daniel burst out, What does all this mean? Why's the door locked? What's with the sign? Sophia looked at him, then shifted her gaze to Victoria, Hale, and Becky, who glared at her venomously. "This is my house," Sophia said calmly, "and I decide who lives in it." "What do you mean your house?" Victoria Hale exploded. "What about us? You know how cramped we are in the apartment." "I understand," Sophia replied, "but that doesn't mean you have to live here." "I didn't agree to it. You're selfish," Becky screamed. "You only think of yourself. What about us?" "Do we go back to the apartment?" "I'm not selfish," Sophia countered. "I just want my own personal space. I want to live how I want, not how you want." "You're obligated to care for your family," Victoria Hale insisted. "It's your duty." "My duty is to care for myself," Sophia said firmly. "I've cared for others long enough, forgetting my own needs. Now it's time to think about me." You're a traitor," Victoria Hale spat. "You've betrayed your family." Sophia sighed. She knew this conversation would lead nowhere good. "I don't want to argue with you," she said. "I just want you to understand. This is my house, and I ask you to respect my decision." "And what do you suggest?" Becky asked sarcastically. "That we sleep on the street?" "I'm not suggesting you sleep on the street," Sophia replied. "I'm suggesting you find another place to live." She fell silent, looking at their confused and angry faces. Then she pulled keys from her pocket and handed them to Daniel. "Here," she said. "I'm leaving for a couple of days. Think about everything." With those words, Sophia turned and walked away, leaving Daniel, Victoria Hale, and Becky in utter bewilderment. Daniel tried to stop her. "Soph, where are you going? Wait!" But Sophia didn't turn back. She simply left, leaving them standing before the closed door. Daniel pulled out his phone and started calling Sophia, but she didn't answer. He called again and again, but it was futile. Sophia wasn't picking up. Victoria Hale stood heaving, drilling the door with her stare. Becky cried, hugging Lily. Daniel, head bowed, gazed at the house. He felt lost and confused. He didn't understand what had happened. He thought Sophia would always be the same quiet, submissive, ready to do anything for her family. But apparently, he was wrong. After a while, Victoria Hale, gathering her remaining dignity, barked, "What are you standing there for? Call a cab, we're not wasting time here." Becky, sniffling, grabbed her bag. Lily, worn out from it all, started whining. Daniel, without a word, called a cab. They left, leaving Sophia's house in silence and solitude. That evening, Daniel sat in his mother's old apartment. He replayed the day's events, trying to grasp what went wrong. He had called Sophia dozens of times, but she never answered. He texted her, begging her to return, explaining he hadn't meant to hurt her, that he just wanted everyone together. But there was no reply. At some point, anger overwhelmed Daniel. Anger at Sophia, her stubbornness, her selfishness. How could she do this to him, to his family? How could she betray him? But then anger gave way to guilt. Daniel began recalling all the years they had lived together. He remembered how often he ignored her wishes, how often he put his family's interests above hers. He remembered how often he took her silence for agreement. Daniel started to realize Sophia hadn't betrayed him. She was just protecting herself, just wanting to be respected, to have her voice heard. Daniel knew he had made a mistake. He understood he had taken Sophia for granted too long. He realized he needed to change if he wanted her back. He picked up the phone and tried calling Sophia again, but she still didn't answer. Daniel tossed the phone aside and buried his face in his hands. He didn't know what to do. He felt lost and alone. Fragments of Sophia's words swirled in his head. "This is my house. I decide who lives in it. I just want my own personal space. I just want you to understand. I ask you to respect my decision." Daniel knew Sophia was right. He had to respect her decision, give her time and space. He had to prove he was ready to change. He stood from the couch and went to the window. Outside, it was dark and quiet. Daniel stared at the stars and thought of Sophia. He thought about how much he loved her and what he needed to do to win her back. In that moment, hope stirred in Daniel. Hope that it could still be fixed. Hope that they could start over. Hope that their love could withstand this trial. He decided that tomorrow he would go to Sophia and apologize. Tell her he understood, that he respected her decision. that he was ready to change. Tell her he loved her more than anything. But for now, he would just wait and hope. A few days later, Daniel returned alone. He looked drained, as if squeezed like a lemon. Fatigue shadowed his eyes, and his shoulders slumped, stripped of their former confidence. He stood on the threshold of the house Sophia had long dreamed of making her sanctuary, and it seemed this place, symbol of her freedom, pressed on him with its quiet but tangible power. Sophia let him in without a word. She felt no triumph, no gloating, just a quiet, hard-won hope. She made tea, and they sat silently across from each other in the living room, which still echoed the recent scandal but also breathed freshness and purity. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. His voice was low and somehow foreign, as if belonging to someone else. "You've changed," he said, looking at her with confusion. I thought you'd be like always." Sophia set her cup on the table. The clink of porcelain echoed through the room. She lifted her eyes and looked straight at Daniel, without a trace of her former timidity. "I was," she replied calmly. "But, like always, doesn't work anymore. I'm tired of silence being taken for agreement. I'm tired of living by others' rules, in someone else's house, with someone else's desires." His words seemed to slap Daniel across the face. He bowed his head, as if ashamed. I didn't understand," he muttered. "I thought it would be better for everyone. Mom's struggling. Becky has nowhere to live. I just wanted to help." "Help who?" Sophia asked softly. "Everyone but me. Did you ever ask what I want? Did you ever see me the real me? Not the convenient woman who always forgives and agrees?" Daniel stayed silent, finding no answer. He truly had never thought about it. Sophia had always been there, quiet and unobtrusive, ready to support and comfort. He took her devotion for granted, not noticing the living soul behind that outward submissiveness, full of dreams and desires. "I know you meant well," Sophia continued, softening her tone. "But your good intentions turned my life into hell. I don't want to live in hell anymore, Daniel. I want to live in my house by my rules. I want to be respected, to be heard. That's not too much." Daniel raised his head and looked at Sophia pleadingly. "Forgive me," he said sincerely. "I was blind. I didn't see I was hurting you. I want to fix everything." Sophia sighed. She saw genuine remorse in his eyes, but knew apologies alone weren't enough. Time was needed to heal wounds, to change habits, to learn to see each other not just as convenient partners, but as individuals. "I don't know if I can forgive you right away," she said honestly, "but I'm willing to try on my terms." Daniel nodded without interrupting. He was ready for anything to win Sophia back, to regain her love and trust. "First," Sophia began, "this house is mine, and I decide who lives in it. You can bring guests, but that doesn't mean you can move your family in without my consent. Second, I want you to learn to listen to me, not just hear words, but understand what I feel, what I want. Third, I want you to respect my boundaries, my time, my space, my interests. That doesn't mean we have to be separate, but it means respecting each other's right to individuality." Daniel listened attentively to every word, trying to memorize each detail. He understood Sophia wasn't asking for much, just the essentials: respect and understanding. "I agree," he said firmly. "I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to change. I want to be the husband you deserve." Sophia smiled, but without her former naivety. She knew the path to reconciliation would be long and hard, but she believed they could walk it if they were honest and willing to work on their relationship. They began building new rules without pressure, with clear agreements. Daniel tried to be attentive and sensitive, asking her opinion, heeding her desires. He gradually learned to see her not just as a wife, but as a person with her own interests and needs. Sophia, in turn, tried not to hold grudges, not to dwell on the past. She gave Daniel a chance, but didn't forget herself. She pursued her favorite hobby, painting, met with friends, strolled the town. She savored her freedom and independence, yet didn't reject the possibility of happiness in marriage. The house finally became her safe space, not territory claimed by habit. She decorated it to her taste, filling it with light and warmth. Every room reflected her individuality, her love for life. One evening, Daniel came home with a bouquet of her favorite flowers, daisies. He handed them to Sophia and said, "Thank you for being you. Thank you for giving me a chance. I love you." Sophia took the flowers and pressed them close, inhaling their delicate scent. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were tears of joy and hope. "I love you too," she replied softly. "But remember, love isn't just a feeling, it's respect. And if you forget that, I'll leave again." Daniel hugged her tightly and whispered, "I'll never forget." Sophia believed him. She saw he had truly changed, that he had learned to value her and respect her boundaries. But she also knew that working on a relationship is an ongoing process, requiring constant attention and effort. She was ready for it, ready to fight for her happiness because she knew she deserved it. She deserved love, respect, and freedom, and she would never let anyone take that from her again. All right, thanks for listening.